Today we're looking at when to use personal pronouns in essays. So we're talking about using personal pronouns in essays. And personal pronouns include words like we, I, me, you, us. All of these words to talk about ourselves and our personal opinions. And when writing an essay, typically these are words we want to avoid using, which is just a stylistic thing that will help you get marks on your IELTS exam. Now there are times when it is difficult for us to avoid personal pronouns in our essays. But as a general rule, we want to avoid using personal pronouns unless your essay question asks you for personal information or personal examples to support your argument. So if your essay question asks you directly for some personal information from your life to support whatever topic it has given you to talk about, unless it has done that, then you want to avoid using these kinds of words in your essays. So let's take an example question here. Now if we look at this question, global warming is a negative phenomena that has affected everyone on the planet. Give personal examples from your life to support this statement. Now, in IELTS exams, it is possible to get a question like this, but usually questions would not ask you for personal information from your life. But if it does, such as this example has, it says, give personal examples from your life, well, it's pretty difficult to do that without using words like I and we, us. So in a case, if you receive a question like this on your exam, then you can bend the rules a little bit and use these words in your essay. But otherwise, you want to avoid it as much as you can. So you will most likely receive a question that looks more like this. I'm just going to get it onto one screen here. So global warming is a negative phenomenon that has affected everyone on the planet. Give examples of ways global warming has damaged the world to support this statement. So when you look at this question, you can see that this is not asking us directly for personal information from our life, which means that we want, as much as possible, to avoid the words I, we, us, words that refer to ourselves and our personal feelings on topics. Now, when I bring this up in classes, students always ask, well, then when I want to say things like, I believe that, or my feeling is, well, how can I do that without using words like I and words like my? And the answer to that is, we want to write passively, so we don't want to write using I, we want to change that to a word like it. So we can change I believe that to it is believed, and then whatever. So for example, if we wanted to say something like I believe that global warming is negative development in the world that has affected every living person today. If that's the sentence that we wanted to say, I believe that global warming is a negative development in the world that has affected every living person today, well, we would just change that to it is believed, and then the rest would be exactly the same. So I can just copy this. I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to stick this in here. So it is believed that global warming is a negative development in the world that has affected every living person today. So you can see it's not very difficult to write this way. Now let's take the next example here. My feeling is. My feeling is. Can you guess what we would write here? We would write, it is felt. It is felt. So my feeling is that global warming is a negative development in the world that has affected every living person today. And then we could say, alternatively, it is felt that global warming is a negative development in the world today that has affected every living person. Okay, now let's look to a sentence. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know the importance of using a thesis in an argument essay. Now, a thesis is giving your personal opinion. And often students will say, well, how can I say my personal opinion if I don't use the word I? And it's exactly the same as we did before. Here we have, I agree global warming has affected everyone on the planet, and then we'd want to maybe say some more. And then if we were to write this in a more attractive way for our essay, we would want to say, it is agreed. It is agreed global warming has affected everyone on the planet. Now, sometimes we get to the end of our essay and we want to use a phrase like, to conclude, I have examined the areas of, and this would be our summary sentence in our conclusion paragraph. So we would mention, I have examined the areas of, and then list number 1 and number 2. And so now here we can also write this more attractively. If we say something like, to conclude, the areas of so 1 and 2, actually I'll write this in here, have been examined, and then that would be the end of the sentence. I hope that's not too confusing, but so to conclude the areas of, and then in here we would write the 2 topics that we talked about in our supporting paragraph 1 and supporting paragraph 2, and then just write have been examined. And if we write in this way, we will have written in a much more stylistic fashion, and we will hopefully achieve higher marks on the IELTS exam. Hope this was helpful. Thank you for listening.